All right, all right. Good evening, everyone. According to my time, it's 6 p.m. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our financial seminar. My name is LaShawn Redwood, Vice President of External Affairs for UB MedSci. And we'd like to first thank you all for taking the time out of your busy schedules to be here. We know that a lot of you guys still have mid-semesters, but in the nitty-gritty of it, we need to have fun, we need to enjoy ourselves, and in the process of it, we need to learn about finances. So we know as young people, a lot of us going on business ventures to compensate for tuition, to make sure that ends meet. So that's why we, as the Faculty of Medical Sciences Guild Committee, have organized this session, because we have to remember, not only are we the medical professions of tomorrow, but some of us will be starting our own businesses, whether it's going to be right after we finish our degree or further down the line. So we have a lovely panel lined up for us this evening. It's going to be very interesting. We have Mr. Adam Fernandez and Mr. Ryan Strong. They're going to talk to us about our finances and so. But before we start anything, we must turn to the Lord in prayer. So I'm going to ask you all, wherever you are, yes, we're in a virtual world, but we're going to still have reverence to the Lord. So just close your eye, bow your head, whatever sign of reverence you acknowledge. And I'll say a prayer. Dear most righteous Heavenly Father, for you are Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. Lord, we thank you for being us. We thank you that you kept us safe. And Lord, as we're about to proceed with this virtual finance seminar, we ask that you be with us. Bless the speeches of the speakers. And I pray that persons will be interactive so we can have some nice flowing questions, build up vibes, have fun. And I pray for everyone who has exams now, command the knowledge, wisdom, and the courage, because we can be nervous as students. Be with us, guide the proceedings of this evening. In your most precious name we pray. Let the church say, Amen. All right, everyone. So our first speaker is actually here. No, he's not here as yet. Our second speaker is here. So, he's here now. Lovely, lovely. Welcome, Mr. Fernandez. All right. So since we're keeping with the time, curfew soon come up, and we don't know if you're on the road or anything. I want to read out here. So, see you on the road. Welcome.
Hi guys, how are you? How are you? Apologies for being a little late. I got trapped in some traffic, and I didn't want to be in it. So I'm actually doing this call in the car.
Okay. Guys, this is the nice thing about the virtual medium, all in a vehicle, in a traffic, we're getting our presenters. So I'll now hand over to you, and you can give your 10 cents and your knowledge and bestow it on us. Okay, so Mr. Fernandez, I hand over to you.
Okay, great. So I want to thank you guys for firstly inviting me to have this talk with you. I know that the topic at hand is finances after university. This is when we start to earn our first real dollars on our own. And I want to say to you guys that most persons starting out, right, once you've left university, the first thing that we seem to do, we try with you guys as medical students, you're almost guaranteed that job, correct?
Somewhat.
Okay. Well, I know that you guys have a high probability of being hired right out of university. So the first thing you need to do is make sure that you've found yourself an opportunity that can bring some income in for you. And once you've done that, right, you now need to establish something that's called your fixed expenditure. And this is money that you're gonna probably, most persons, once they start earning income, you naturally start taking on new expenses you didn't have before, that came up. Maybe it may even be family members that say, okay, you need to start paying some of this. Like, sorry, maybe mommy starts saying to you, yeah, you need to start paying the light bill now. All right. So once you start making this money, the first thing you need to do is create a budget plan. And your budget plan, as I said, will first list out the expenses that you know every single month. I have to take care of these. No matter what happens, they're recurring. Some of you may not have any coming right out of school, but after a while, they do develop and compound. And as you progress and develop yourself further in life, you will find also that you will want to just increase, your standard of living. Maybe it is that you want to take on a car payment, or you want to start paying rent, or maybe even go for a mortgage. Whatever the case be, you want to add these new things with life when you get your hands on solid income or consistent income. So your budget, after you've established your fixed expenditure, you know that you have certain other elements that will take up that budget that you've created for yourself. Now, a nice way to look at it, and I want you guys to write this down, it's a pretty standard rule. Maybe some of you even know what it is. And it's not something that is, written in stone. It can be, you can be flexible with it, but generally you want your fixed expenditure to be about 50% of your monthly budget. So just for easy numbers, if you're earning $200,000, your living expenses, the recurring expenses, should not pass $100,000 per month. Following that, you want to have about 20%, and I believe our other speaker is going to speak on investments, but you should be using roughly around 20% of your income to save, to deal with your financial portfolio at large. But I'll let it's Ryan, right?
Yeah, man, Ryan.
Right. So I think Ryan will touch on investments a little bit more, but generally speaking, a rule of thumb is that 20% of your income on a monthly basis should be put towards investing or investment tools. And that doesn't just mean buying stocks or bonds or whatever it is, whatever assets you're looking at. It could be just regular savings, even though that's not a great, the most efficient way or effective way to create further wealth or more wealth. Is just a discipline that keeps you from, falling into the cracks if things really go bad. And then, so just to kind of bring it back a little bit, you have 50% for your living expenses, 20% for your investments, savings, insurance, whatever other financial instruments you may have. And the remaining 30% is why we work, why we do all of this up and down and hustling and studying and killing up ourselves, is so that we can buy things we want, right? Or wants. So 30% goes towards your wants, 20% goes towards the investments and savings, and your financial portfolio at large, and 50% is there to take care of your survival needs. And as I said earlier, that structure can be flexible. You have some persons like myself. I am big on cutting down my living expenses. I like to. There's certain things I'm comfortable spending on because of just.
Sorry, I'm still not sure about that.
Sorry about that, guys. About sorry, I lost my train of thought. But I'm saying I try to limit my living expenses as much as I possibly can, and increase that 20% for my financial portfolio. Ryan, that's funny. So yes, I try to cut my living expenses. I spend less than 50% of my income on my living expenses, and I try to put about 30% into my investments and savings, and 20% is what I use for my wants. Sometimes I don't even do that. I will limit myself in that regard, but that's just me personally. And it depends on how aggressive you want to be in your pursuit of accumulating cash. Does anyone have any questions? Or is this pretty straightforward?
The main thing that we want to do is ask questions within the YouTube chat, but I haven't seen any as yet. So you can press on until person send questions.
Okay. So another tip I'd like to give you guys is, coming out of school, some of us, I don't know anyone here except for maybe Zario, and I don't even know her personally to know her, her daily lifestyle. But most of us come out of university not earning money, and when you start to earn your first set of income, it kind of feels like a lot. You probably have never had that much money to spend at your own free will ever before in your life, and you may fall into the habit of, oh, let me eat out every day, or let me buy all the nice things, my Chanel bag or my Gucci belt or whatever it is that you like or want. I've seen it happen time and time and time and time again in my financial advising career, where I will write stuff as human nature, but I just believe that I've seen where persons, as they start to earn money, they start to rack up these ridiculous bills, and every month they're going after these material items, which there's nothing wrong with that, but it becomes a problem when now it's a habit, and every single month you're waiting for your next paycheck to come so that you can pay more bills. Then there's certain things that can happen where an emergency fund is necessary. And this is something I want to stress to you guys. Most people don't have it, but having it is something that can make the difference between you not being able to eat for a week and having food on your table to eat for a week. For a great example is the pandemic. A lot of persons never even, I don't think anyone questioned if a pandemic would ever occur in our lifetime. But it has, and lots of persons have lost their jobs, they have lost their streams of income, and there's nowhere for them to look. And they don't have an emergency fund. But if they did, they would have given themselves a buffer. So another rule of thumb, an emergency fund is something that you add to you set as a goal as a part of your financial portfolio as well. And typically, you want to have anywhere between 3 to 6 months of your monthly expenditure sitting in an account somewhere where it's accessible, it's liquid, you can access it immediately. It's not locked away in a fund or something that you have investment plans sometimes that limit your liquidity. So you want to have that in place as well. And essentially, I think I've covered most of what I want to say. And just to do a quick recap before Ryan comes in, we touched on once you get out of school, find a source of income. Some persons, I know you guys are med-sci students and will likely become future doctors, but I've met med students who don't become doctors, and they've chosen other careers in other industries, and they've found success there. So establish yourself, find yourself a job, get placed, start earning income. Once you've achieved that, create a budget. Stick to the 50-30-20 rule. 50% living expenses, 20% financial portfolio, 30% wants. You can play with it if you want to. And of course, create an emergency fund for a rainy day, because it can happen. So yeah, I think I have said enough. Ryan, would you like to take the floor?
All right. Just before Ryan comes in,
Sure.
I have a question. All right.
Go ahead.
So many of us coming straight from high school, I know you mentioned about having an emergency account and all. What would be your advice to a medical science student who enters university and, maybe they had some savings from high school, but because of the tuition expenses, that savings drain out? How would you advise a medical student in that situation to build up their finances?
Discipline. Once you start earning that money, you make it a priority to create that reserve that you had before, but that was spent on whatever it was, whether it was tuition fees, student loan, whatever it is. You have to make it a priority. And most persons don't. I won't lie to you guys. Most persons, they have the desire, they want to, but for whatever reason, they choose to spend the money on other things. Maybe it just may be comfort. You have to just create the discipline and decide that, okay, I need to get 3 to 6 months of my monthly expenditure. So for me to live and operate and go to work and do all of those things, I have to spend 100 grand a month. I am making sure that once I take care of those things, I am putting as much as that money that's left over into my emergency fund. And it's not something that you need to build continuously. As I say, you just want to have about 3 to 6 months of the $100,000 if it's that what you're spending on a monthly basis. You want to have that there for anything could happen. So that would be. It sounds simple, but that's really and truly probably the only way that you can do that is just to create that discipline. Understand, think of it as paying yourself. As a matter of fact, I would even say do it before you pay your other bills. Most people do the reverse way, but at the end of the day, you just want to ensure that you have allocated a certain percentage of your income towards that emergency fund to build that up for a rainy day. Because I mean, as we've learned, I thought doctors had the most secure job in all of planet Earth. And to hear that doctors are being laid off during a pandemic, which is a medical crisis, you'd think that they'd be, more willing to hold on to doctors, but it can happen even to the most secure of us. So create that discipline and set an actual figure. Say, no, okay, I know that I don't have to spend this money. Maybe this money could have been going into investment funds or different assets, but for starting out, I want to create my emergency fund. No. So maybe you do it for the first half a year, 6 months, and you get to your goal. Maybe it may take a little bit longer depending on how much you decide to allocate to it. But that would be my answer to that question.
So one final question. This is coming straight out of the YouTube chat. So
Sure.
I know you spoke about investments. So someone was asking, what are your thoughts on investing in Bitcoin as opposed to stocks?
I think I can answer that, but right. Okay, let me give you my 2 cents.
Yeah.
Cryptocurrency right now is a highly speculative market. And by that, I mean, there isn't much fundamental information, data that's out there that can help you. Persons say it's a store of value, but it's very volatile. It's something that is high risk. I personally would not tell someone to take their life savings and put it into Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency at that. I mean, if you want to explore that market, it's a personal decision, but it's not something that I think is one, it's not regulated, so you can have manipulation happen, and you can be a victim of manipulation in the market. And just to compare it to stocks does carry its level of risk as well. It's just that cryptocurrencies, as I said before, they're decentralized assets. They're not regulated. There's no, if you lose your money in that world, there's no real way of recouping it, or there's not many persons that you can rely on. A similar thing applies with stocks, but simply put, cryptocurrencies is a very, very high risk market to be in. And when you're starting out, and you're earning income as a new person in the working world, you don't want to be taking on that kind of risk, unless you're okay with and accepting of the fact that you can lose this money, and if you do, you're not affected by it. You can, if you're trying to get rich off of it, you're gonna need. Don't even consider that. I wouldn't even advise you to look at that. So, yeah, cryptos are just very high risk, and I wouldn't suggest that anyone put their money into it. Personally, I do own some Bitcoin, but if I was to lose all that money, my lifestyle wouldn't change. It wouldn't have affected my income or my lifestyle or anything like that. So if you want to, you can use money that affects you in that way, where your daily lifestyle isn't bothered by it. So I hope that answers the question. I feel like I'm rambling too much.
No, man, that was a lovely explanation. So once again, we would like to thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be here. you know, you're in traffic, so we don't want to hold you too long, because you know you're getting home for the curfew, because we don't want broadcast continue. Yes.
Yes, listen. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Fernandez.
I'm gonna
right.
stay on the call and listen to the rest of it. So guys, I'll be here in the background.
Yeah, man. Great, great, great. So, guys, you know, we're having giveaways. You know. And for this giveaway, I would like you guys to send answer in the WhatsApp, not the WhatsApp, the YouTube chat rather. So here is the question. So our first speaker spoke about finances, how to make sure that you have proper finances after you complete your degree or throughout your degree. So I would like a smart, intelligent medical student as we are, because we stand out. All the faculties who are tuned into our call, into our video, into a virtual medium, to give one step we should take in making sure our finances are in check. I'll repeat, type in the chat on YouTube, one thing or one step we should adhere to make sure that our finances are in check. I'll be checking the YouTube chat to see who first answers. Remember, it's a giveaway, guys. I'll be checking. All right. Let's see if you guys were listening. Right. I'm not seeing the answers, guys. You know what? The giveaway. Come on. All right. So we have Miss Aisha Simone Brown saying, having a 50, 30, 20 rule with your finances and having a budget. So Miss Aisha Simone, you are the winner. Of our first giveaway tonight. So you have my number, so shoot me a message and I'll tell you what you want. Thanks for answering. All right, so we press on, as we know, we have mid-semesters and we need to go study. So the next speaker we have for this evening, let me give him a little introduction, So our next speaker for this evening attended Campion College, and the South Bank University in London. You can look him up on the internet. Yeah, just type him up in an Instagram. What's the Instagram again? Legacy. Look, I have it in my phone.
I can scare you and start talking, because I don't need a long introduction at all.
Yeah, man. All right. So does need a long introduction. So I will turn over to Mr. Strong now. Welcome.
Thank you, Adam. Thanks for your time earlier. I was keenly listening, and thank you, Zaria, for thinking it fit that I would actually have something to contribute to a group of nation builders and persons who save lives for a living. So I am Ram Strong. I'm a stockbroker by trade. I'm an investor, businessman. If my internet goes out, I apologize in advance. I don't expect it to, but you can never tell the flow. So I looked at your theme, and the theme was, pull it up right here. The theme was, let's talk finance, money management after university, stocks, and more. And I got to thinking, what would be most applicable? So I could have taken a more structured approach, but that's not really how I tend to do things. So what I'm going to speak about is the future and crafting the future. Now, I'll start by saying this. So if you want to establish a life for yourselves in the future and learn how to work, manage your money and whatever, every journey begins with a destination in mind. So you jump in your car, unless something is not 100% with you, then you have an idea you're trying to get to somewhere. Now, you may have traffic in one destination, which could be the case with me if I'm going to work in the early afternoon and I know Barbican Road can block up or Russell Heights, so I drive another way. But I know where I want to end up. And I'll start by saying that what's important is for everybody listening to have an idea of where they want to end up. Because just like how we all have different names or different parents or different DNA, all have different outcomes in mind for ourselves. So I'll give you an idea, an example. So when I was in college, I was at my auntie's house. Not my aunt, you know Jamaicans, like everybody's auntie, but you got family. And I was watching TV with a guy. A guy was on TV, I should have said, and he was talking about his business journey. So I've always had an interest in this. And the guy was saying that to build a business, he maxed out his credit card to buy inventory, whatever. Now, that would fly in the face of conventional financial theory because the conventional wisdom says one does not take on debt per se, like an insurmountable amount of debt. And that is 100% correct. But for the person who is looking to perhaps build a business, their end goal or their destination is a little different from the person who may be thinking about a house, a picket fence, two bad dog, couple cat, whatever. So I'll say to you that at the outset, it's very important to give thought to where you want to go. What do you want to do? What do you not want to do? Because we're talking about the future. So for me, at the time, my whole thing was I wanted to be liquid. I wanted to be in business. I did not want conventional earnings, which therefore meant I would not be able to operate conventional. I would not be able to, if every month chances that I'm earning a different amount, and I know Adam insurance as he's having played in that game, he can relate to the whole thing of commission and all of what that involves. So the person in such a field may have a different approach to managing finances than somebody who is in a more stable setup. I did apologize to my internet in advance, so I have a construction site beside me. You guys hearing me?
Yes, we are.
All right, cool. Sorry about that. Yeah, so where did I drop off? Can you just give me a cue, please, so I don't repeat myself or bore you?
The internet went, so I never heard the last word you said. But you can continue talking, nothing is wrong with repeating, and we follow on.
I wonder if it's going again. So you're going in and out. You're going in and out, and it says mine is unstable. Hold on, let me turn off my VPN. Hopefully it's a bit more reliable. Do you hear me now?
Yes, we hear you now. You hearing me? We hearing you now.
Hold on. All right, so I think this is fine now, right?
Yes, it is.
All right, let's try this again. So I'm back. Just give me a cue. I'll just pick off and be very, very quick.
Okay, you were talking about not having a conventional source of income.
Okay. Right. So in terms of like conventional wisdom and all of that, I'll say for like you guys as doctors to strongly consider a few things, and this is from the stock or the investment standpoint. So one of the things that the persons do is they make up money, and the first thing they do, they tie themselves down with a ton of expenses, right? So whether it's the brand new car, and there's nothing wrong with it. So I'm not saying there's nothing wrong, my view, with many things that we would consider wrong in terms of there's nothing wrong with buying a flashy car. There's nothing wrong with buying the big house. The whole matter is when does one do it? And when may not be the same for everybody, because in some cases, it may actually benefit the person to have the nicer car, the reliable vehicle for the purpose of their employment. So it all depends on circumstances. So the biggest takeaway from all of this, if my internet goes again, is it's not one size fits all. So some of you may feel like you're being called on a particular path that differs wildly from your peers. And there's nothing wrong with that. What people like myself are here to try and do is to show what you perhaps should consider doing in accordance with the path that you have in mind. So another example, I have no interest in being a landlord. I have no interest in having 10 houses that I rent because it's hassle to collect the rent, or roof start leak because rainfall will leak, or tenants start in trouble, or just a ton of things. Collect money, run down money. Yes, I can get a property management company, but I'm just not particularly interested in that right now. That could change in 10 years when there comes an opportunity to buy into a property or build a complex or whatever the case may be. But as of right now, that's not part of my end goal. So I give you the preamble, and anytime I do something like this, people say to me, Ryan, stories are cool, great to hear what you've lived through and what your friend lived through, or the fictitious person you spoke about lived through. But just tell us what stocks to buy. And I really I resist that notion a lot because, again, and this is preparation for the future, financial advisory is very nuanced. And truth be told, if you're going to go or embark on a financial advisory relationship, the person needs to know your circumstance. Because I could tell you to buy NCB or to buy Grace Kennedy. But the funds you have, you only really want to place it for 1 month. So buying the stock that could lose 10% in the month wouldn't benefit you. Sure, it would look absolutely fantastic if it goes up 10% in a month or even 100%, which has happened. But you're not going to be very happy if it falls 10% because you have the money to do a specific thing with it. So I like to say that the appreciation of nuance, the appreciation of your differences, and the setting of a goal and having an idea of where you want to go are the most important things at this time for the future, more so than which stocks you should buy right now. Because again, we can buy stocks with the wrong approach and then suffer as a result of that disconnect. So I would really prefer this for interactive and I answer any questions you may have, but I think that frame is appropriate and fits the discussion. Because too many times I've seen people say, listen, I hear about, which stock was that the other day? I heard about Lucinco and I want to buy it. This is how I buy it. I want to buy it. Set me up now. I'll be like, all right, so what you want to buy Lucinco? Boy, I don't know, my brethren to buy it, so I'm buying it too. And then if that stock falls for a month, you hear the cussing on the phone, or them come cussing in person, or want to cuss. So the point I'm making is not just about buying something, right? It's really about knowing why you're buying it and where it fits in your overall big picture. In terms of little financial planning, my contribution to that would be you need to have insurance. Critical illness is critical, as the name suggests. You want to have some life insurance when you're young. I think it's a good time to look at that. You do it within your budget. I think Adam gave you some good metrics to guide you and to work around. And I think after that, you want to manage your high debt levels in terms of credit card debt. Local, that's like 45% interest rates. That's what you want to manage as well. And then after that, now we can talk about all the other things. But I just hope I hand back over to you, MC, and if there's any questions, I'll happily answer. But I think that frame is appropriate, and I hope you agree with me somewhat. Thank you. I think you're muted if you're speaking.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Strawn. All right, I'm looking in the chat for some questions for you. All right, I have one question coming straight out of the YouTube chat. And someone is asking, since we're medical students, would you recommend a business degree even after doing medicine or before starting a business? So the question was, would you recommend a business degree even after doing med or during med and before starting a business?
All right, sorry, say it again. I heard the med students part and then the business part. So the question is.
All right, so the person asks, would you recommend a business degree even after doing med before starting a business?
Yeah, I think it depends. I mean, a lot of business people have never done a degree. In fact, a lot of the big business people locally and overseas, and I know in at least one case, somebody I know very well off fell out probably finished high school, dropped out of college. So, I mean, it's always good to have an education. I don't think the education is going to have you suited for the business, if I'm very honest with you, because at the end of the day, you still have to, I mean, when persons work with, with companies now, they become experts in a field. So you look at like Butch Stewart, he didn't go to business school or anything like that. So I think that's really down to a matter of judgment. What I would say, however, is it's important to perhaps start small. So I want to say to you or the person to dump your life savings in the business at the start when you don't know if you even have a demand for the products. I mean, you could, but that comes down to the risk-taking nature, the risk tolerance of the person in question. So, as I said, if a business degree guaranteed success in business, and I'm not saying you're saying that, but I'm just saying, then you can imagine everybody with an MBA would be, a successful business owner. No, or many persons, and that's definitely not the case. So, I also don't think you can learn entrepreneurship in school. I think you can be made familiar with things like accounting, which are an administrative competencies, which are very important for business. But in terms of learning how to run a business, stuff like that, nothing can prepare you for when, I mean, it's a mature audience, so I can speak to you. When two members of your team, one in production and one in accounts, end up in a relationship and it mash up. Yeah? Or you catch people in an inappropriate thing in your office or whatever. And those are the nuances that come with running a business, dealing with people. So I would say to the person who has an interest in business to venture out, it starts as a side hustle. I mean, you're not gonna say you're gonna stop doing your core thing for the business. But I think that's the best way to do it before school. School can sometimes delay the pursuit of exciting things. I mean, you need to go back to school eventually. There'll be ample time to do that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Strong. One more question for you. It was asked
Sure.
earlier of Mr. Fernandez, so I'll repeat the question. What
Mhm.
are your thoughts on investing in Bitcoin as opposed to stocks? Yeah, because a lot of us university students, when we join, we hear about the Bitcoin and the stocks, and everybody jump on a session and listen in and pay them little money and join and get up early morning and do a little thing, get the money for school. So I'd like to
Right.
know, what are your thoughts?
All right. So I view it like this. So if like stocks and traditional investments are like the foundations of a house, and the walls and the roof and all of that, the structure, I guess Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies could be like the window, a window here or a nice window there. But I would never tell anybody to go and base their foundation on Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency as of right now. Do I think it has a role to play in the future? Potentially. As was stated earlier, it's not regulated, and that brings its own set of challenges with it. I mean, you've had people stealing others Bitcoin. You've had it being used to facilitate terrorist financing and all of that, and the dark web. And that's not to say they haven't been positives either. We have taken a position that we just exited in Coinbase. We were buying Coinbase at 230. I say we, I mean the funds I have under my oversight. We sold last week at 312. We bought Amazon and get a little late, but that's life, I guess. But as I said, it's such a small fraction of our position that we would not be exposed if we lost it. Because the truth is, what you have to think about when you're assessing an investment is, well, what's going to happen if it goes under? Is it going to affect my life? I would much rather, this is Ryan, I'd much rather take my chances with Facebook, Google, that I use every day over Bitcoin that I'm not that familiar with and that has not entrenched itself in the human existence as much. So that's kind of how I gauge it. So I would best compare it to, and I'm not above a punt or a gamble, as some people may call it. But you're not going to gamble your house money. You're probably gamble the money you spend on drinks a night, and that comes down to where that what drinks for the night is to a person. But I wouldn't expect somebody to sell a house and gamble the whole thing. And if you're going to do that, surely not at one table or in one game. So I would best compare it to that for the time being. Yes, advocates will differ, but I don't really care, to be honest. And you can call me Ryan. You can call me Ryan. Mr. Strong's my father. I'm
All
still
right,
young enough to
Ryan.
be called that.
Oh man, so one last question. It's long, so I'm going to read it well. Many persons
Okay.
graduate with a loan, right? And do you have any thoughts on trying to start investing while still clearing the debt? Or should the debt be cleared as quickly as possible? Or should a balance be found in both?
I'd say a balance. So, of course, one we want to clear the loan as quickly as possible. However, I think what's more important is the loan to be as low a rate as possible. And not to bring politics into it, but I know in recent times, interest rates have fallen at the Student Loan Bureau, which is, I think, to the benefit of the educational community, students and all concerned. So I would say to a person that to the extent that it is manageable, to manage the payments, but not to neglect the future. And I give you a very good example. No, any story that's a good side has the potential to be a bad side, right? So my view, and in terms of where I want to go, I am very specific or particular about managing liquidity. I think cash is not necessarily king or queen. Cash is very important. Cash, or the availability of it, allows one to benefit or to capitalize on, opportunities that may not come around very often. So I think it's very important for persons to have access to cash. I know people have like a multitude of real estate, but they cannot cut a check of any size for you within a week. So if you had something that was $100 and you said, listen, I'm in a bind, I'll sell it for 15, they probably would not be able to get the 15 to you same time. And that's why I say cash is important. And I said to you, that's why I said the balance is critical. So if it were me, I would try and get my payments to as manageable a point as possible. So I'd even negotiate on it, but I would still invest in stock, because stock's the only thing that's going to give me that robust upside. And the story I was going to tell you, 5 years, all right, 5 years ago, that's 2016, 6 years ago, we would have had NCB at $30, right? Or 20 something. Within 4 years, it was 210. So in other words, somebody who put 10,000 in NCB would have had 70,000 in 3 or 4 years, on top of getting dividends, which would have been, I don't know, probably about $8 a year, relatively speaking, or 8%, 9% a year, if on that 10,000. So they'd be getting $800 a year just in dividends, sitting down doing nothing. That person had taken all that money, put into paying off the loan. Sure, loan will be paid off. But then they'd still be at the conclusion of it, trying to find means to make money. And sometimes, you know what then happens? That person then takes a loan and goes and tries and start a business, or to try and grow a little business that they have. So what I said to you is that debt and equity should go in tandem. Equity, not just stock now, but equity like assets. But what is important is to manage your debt levels and ensure that it's something you can service in case a crap hits the fan. So that's the best way I would put it to you in terms of that balance. Because as I said, many times we think that we'll just have no debt and then life is great. But then if you think about it, Apple, with its $60-odd billion in cash, or 120 billion, whatever it is, they borrowed money the other day. Microsoft floated a bond, Visa, Amazon. These are multi-billion-dollar enterprises. So it's to frame how we perceive debt. And then the other thing I would also say when one is considering debt is, will what one borrowed the money for outpace the debt itself? So if I borrowed, and this may or may not have been a true story, right? If I borrowed at 12%, so let's say I borrowed $1 million or $10 million at 12%. And so 12%, that's 1.2 million a year in interest. But I bought something, I bought the stock, maybe in the same business that lent me the money, and I made 300% on it. My 10 is now 30, but then I owe the bank 11.2, so I clear 18 million. Now one could say, all right, suppose it falls. All right, I can pay the interest. So, regardless, so from what I generate through my vocation. So it's all about a plan and a structure and execution. And that is more important than anybody coming to you and saying, yeah, man, just buy Grace and we sing Alaska and never think about it again. It's more important to have a plan and a framework and work within that framework. Establish it for yourself and get some help. There are good people who you can have a one reason with. Some people may just be a drink, may just take you, 25 minutes. Some people may want to charge you smalls as well. It's another story. And then you get the framework, you work with it. And I've met a few professionals like doctors like yourselves who've done that and done well. Dr. Bruce is one example. This is public knowledge. He's an investor. So you have persons around you who have been in the game and have a plan for themselves and execute it and done far better than they would have done if it's just from their vocation alone. So that would be my answer. I'm not rushing, so if there's any more, I can take another one or two.
All right.
I'm at your disposal.
So I'm not seeing any more questions in the chat. And I think you were very detailed and you basically cleared up anything that I ever wanted to ask from your presentation. So once again, I'd like to thank you, Ryan,
My
so
pleasure.
much for taking the time out of your busy schedule for being here, speaking to us. You know, I know a lot of us, we never know certain things that we're just medicine minded, you know. Go to school, go home. When you finish your degree, you get a job right away, not to worry about nothing, because the money is there. But we know how the world is and we know how the pandemic is and nothing is promised nowadays. So I'd like to thank you for the advice that you gave us. Thank you for the answers to the question. You and Mr. Fernandez really blew us away tonight, you know? And we're indeed grateful. So thanks once again, Ryan, for coming.
My pleasure. No problem. No problem. And thank you, Zaria, for reaching out. I don't do this often, but for you, I will. So thank you. And thank you guys. All the best for your studies. Mash it up, make history, and then let's make some money.
All right, great, great, great. So, in all, we have to do giveaways. So I would like someone in the YouTube chat just to type an advice that Ryan gave to us in terms of finances and investments. So I'm looking in the chat. Lucky person will get a prize. So type an advice that Ryan mentioned towards finances and investments. Easy question. I'm looking in the chat. I wonder how does anybody answering. Come. Easy question. Come on, guys. Looking in the chat. Don't be afraid. Don't be shy. Remember that we're typing. We're in a virtual medium. Nice prizes, man. Nice. Good things, them. And guys, advice on finance and investments. All right. So I have someone answering. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing her name right, but Naya Sherry. She said to manage your expenses and or finances based on your circumstances, especially in terms of stocks. So Miss Naya Cherry, you have won one of the giveaways. So I'm going to drop my Instagram @ in the chat and you just contact me afterwards and we sort out how you're going to get your giveaway, okay? All right. I have one more giveaway, just one more. And we're going to do it outside the finance thing. All right. My question is, and I'm doing a mid-side trivia question, give the current name, give the name of the current, rather, Dean of the Faculty of Medical Sciences. So that question is, give the name of the Dean of the Faculty of Medical Sciences. Easy. I should see questions coming in the chat. Easy. All right, guys. Question was, give the name of the Dean of the Faculty of Medical Sciences. I'm not seeing anybody answer. We need to be quick on these questions, guys. All right. I see Jabari flying with the answer. Professor Minerva Thame, that you are indeed correct. So Jabari, shoot me a message after this and you shall surely get your giveaway. So once again, everyone, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being here with us today. Special big up to our speakers, Adam and Ryan, for taking the time out of their busy schedule. Remember that our MedSci Week continues and continue to support our events. Tomorrow we're having Back to Basics and Purple Day. So come out in the purple clothes and just represent for faculty. Attend the concert because, as you know, our concert is towards personal protective equipment for our faculty. So you see, right? Yeah, man. We have the poster being for the party tomorrow on YouTube, just here. So like, subscribe, and share. Follow us on Instagram at UE MedSci. Stay tuned to our activities and stay safe, work good, and all the best in your mid semesters, everyone. Take care.